I have played video games for most of my life, from all the way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, playing the Game Boy, and going all the way through to what we currently have available. Once in a while, a game is gonna come along that just manages to take over my life completely. These games give me a rush, and they're extremely fun to play. However, sometimes I get something even better. Sometimes I play a game that will take over my life, but it will also have me coming back to play it. It's not as if I gave up halfway or anything like that. In fact, I remember distinctively finishing the game, but I return and I find myself enjoying it just as much, even though I believed that I had done everything that there was to do. Hades is one of those games, and in my opinion, I think it's a masterclass in having depth in your video games. So today, I wanted to make a different kind of video. I wanted to just celebrate how awesome some games can be. How they can create a completely unique experience that you will never be able to get from watching a movie or a TV show. Hades is able to tell a wonderful story, and at the same time, it had a lasting impact on me for a specific reason. It has made me open my eyes to a whole genre of games that I never thought that I would actually enjoy. I typically play strategy, FPS, or RPG games, so your very typical sort of stuff. The Witcher, Elden Ring, Battlefield, Halo, and Total War games. I never really understood the appeal of roguelike games, but honestly, Hades has made me rethink all of my previous judgments. It may not sound like much, and I know it's funny to say, but this game has actually changed my views on something, and it taught me the age-old lesson that you never judge a book by its cover. So pull up a chair, crack open a beer, and let's get ready to escape hell itself in Hades. The game is set in Greek mythology, with you playing as Zagreus, the son of Hades. Your dad is the ruler of the underworld, and he's a bit of an asshole, so like any angsty teenager, you decide enough is enough, and that it's time to just run away from home. So the problem though, is that you are not figuratively, but you are literally trapped in hell. So to escape, you must traverse the deadly underworld. Hell is set up as not just one location, but a massive layered prison that you must work your way through in order to escape. Hearing about your struggle to get away from this prison, the Olympian gods decided that they will try and actually help you by offering blessings or boons, which will give you powers and abilities to help you escape. This sets up the basis of the game, where through a countless number of escape attempts, you will just try to defeat the various enemies and bosses, eventually reaching the surface. This is a pretty reasonable premise for a game, but it could easily feel repetitive and annoying to retrace your steps. But that's the exact beauty of the game. That's where the depth comes in. This game is absolutely perfectly able to make sure that there is always something different or unique which will push you to keep trying. Every step that you take feels incredibly satisfying, and it feels rewarding to be able to get a bit higher, a bit further each time, but you never feel cheated or robbed when you eventually die. The enemies in this game telegraph their attacks pretty damn clearly, so because of that, you always know what's coming. It just feels like a matter of getting good enough to be able to deal with that. And once you're able to, it really does feel like a very nice and enjoyable ride as you slowly progress through the various stages. One of the best aspects about the game is the final boss fight against Hades himself, and god damn, this is such a good fight because he has a second phase, and when it kicks in for the first time, just that guitar as it kicks in and his health bar just goes right back to full. Oh boy, the first time it happened, I was literally just like,
Are you ready to begin? I can barely see. Death does not wait for you to be ready. Death is not considerate warfare. And make no mistake, here you face death.
when you play Hades, you are essentially committing yourself to play the same loop of gameplay every time, but because of various different aspects which I'll go through, it actually doesn't even feel like that. It feels always fresh and entertaining, and I think that that's a great sign of a very well-crafted experience. The pacing is extremely good, and they have been able to tie together so many different features which really do help to make the game feel like a complete package, which is so rare in modern day gaming, and something that I have thoroughly enjoyed. One of the many standout features which creates this effect is the level design. Every escape attempt in Hades feels different. It feels meaningful because the levels and the rewards for each room are different and randomized. Not only this, but the layout and the design of the various rooms that you enter changes at random. The enemies, the camera angles, and also the layouts of the various rooms are all variables that can change. So the end result is that level 10 on one escape attempt might look completely different to level 10 on another, and it really feeds into the idea of Tartarus being an ever-shifting maze, because every time you go in, it's different. But at the same time, the developers also give the players the freedom of choosing what they want to be rewarded with when they complete the next room. Some of the levels will be a mini boss fight, and if you see that little skull icon and you're already low on health, you might choose to selectively avoid that. But on other runs, you might have tons of health already, so you don't need to worry about that. There are various unique levels which will change up the pace as well. Sometimes you get a trial of the gods where you have to choose between two different blessings, and the one that you don't pick is gonna end up helping the enemies to try and kill you because they get pissed off with you. It's really cool, and it becomes a risk versus reward sort of decision. On the other hand, sometimes you meet some side characters that are both entertaining and help you out. Because of these design choices, the replayability just goes through the roof. But what makes it satisfying is the weapons and blessings, which are powerful and help to enhance your experience. Zagreus starts the game with just his sword, but as you progress, you can unlock various other weapons. Once you have all of those weapons, you get access to the different variants of the weapons, so you get even more options, and you can even get King Arthur's Excalibur. Yeah, it's ridiculous, I know, but it's so awesome, and it has such a cool glowing effect, it's absolutely epic. During escape attempts, you can upgrade your weapon even further for tons of variety with various ways to style your attacks or to power up certain aspects. The end result is that whether you are using the same weapon or a different one, the game still feels fresh. The tools of destruction at your disposal are fantastic, including the sword, spear, shield, bow, gauntlets, and a gun? Yeah, I don't remember this one being in Greek mythology, but I will happily take it because it rocks. Like how I said earlier, the Olympian gods will give you various power-ups, which then apply to you only on that specific escape attempt. When you die, it all gets reset. So depending on which blessings you choose, you can end up with completely different builds that are so different it's not even funny. Blessings from Poseidon, for example, will give you a knockback effect, so you can cause these tidal waves that just let you bully the crap out of small enemies. But blessings from Athena are able to deflect attacks and save you in a real pinch. At the end of the day, all of these powers are temporary, but thanks to the progression system in the game, Zagreus will still slowly become a formidable force on his own. Zagreus starts the game in a really weak state, which is why at the start you really have to rely on the Olympian gods to have any chance of getting through the levels. But towards the end of the game, you won't actually be screwed if the first couple of blessings are average. The rooms that you enter have a small number of enemies at the start of the game, but you progressively have harder enemies and they become more numerous. By the time you reach Elysium, there's so much stuff happening on screen, you basically need a Sharingan to be able to track it all. Despite of how overwhelming it feels at first, over time, you are slowly able to get used to it, and the difficulty progression feels like a really well-balanced learning curve. As you go through each escape attempt, you will also collect darkness. This can be spent to permanently give you increased health, spending money, better blessings, and allow you to defy death itself a couple of times. These powers help to prove that even if you don't have the best luck of the draw, you can still have a good chance of beating all the bosses and finally completing the story. The story of Hades actually feeds into the gameplay loop, which is another smart decision. So every time you die and you come back to the household, you get a little bit more information. You get a little bit more of a push to compel you forward to escape again. After a couple of escape attempts, Zagreus actually finds out that Nyx, the Mother of Darkness, isn't actually his mum. His mum is someone else, and she's living in the outside world. So he actually develops a goal. He develops a reason to try and escape. It's not just someone being an angsty teenager that's done with his dad's crap. As the player, you see him go through all of this, and it ends up creating a very strong goal for both the player and the character to be able to escape hell and reach his mother, to be able to get answers to all of his burning questions. Why did she leave? What happened between her and his father? And most important of all, why do I like the big titty goth girl so goddamn much? However, unfortunately, when you do actually meet her, you die, because you, as a product of hell, cannot live outside of hell for very long at all. So Zagreus makes the conscious decision to just go through it all again, to keep trying every time to escape Hades, and actually meet his mum, just to even spend a few precious moments with her, to talk to her. And it may feel a little contrived, but it is so satisfying to see Zagreus shed his cool exterior and just be vulnerable, to ask her genuine questions, and to have a real heart-to-heart. It really did drive me to keep beating the crap out of Hades so that I could get the final ending. And yeah, I gotta admit, the final ending, very enjoyable, very nice to see it all come together in a good way. As far as the characters go for the game, a lot of them are pretty one-dimensional, especially the Olympian gods, but they are by no means a bad set of characters. They are actually pretty damn well executed. They are written well, and they have had a fair bit of thought put into them for how they act and their personalities. Like, for example, Athena is very, very professional, very prim and proper. Hermes talks at 1,000,000 miles an hour, while Dionysus is like, hey, Zag, man, come on up here, let's party and While he is a side character, Theseus also really stood out to me because even though you fight him countless number of times, he always has a fresh set of insults or a couple of things to say against the fiend that is Zagreus. He's always so extra, and it's so dramatic, which makes it just very entertaining to fight him. I mean, he's so goddamn annoying to actually fight as a boss, but it's entertaining at least to see what he has to say.
Off my scooter and require assistance.
Timmy, look at your knee, you're bleeding.
The pavement was the victim, I am the victor.
That's a pretty bad boo-boo. Just wait right here, let me get something, okay?
Bandage me in silk and I shall ride again.
Okay, we have to clean it first.
What's that?
It's hydrogen peroxide.
Oh.
It'll disinfect it.
Does it hurt?
No, it won't hurt.
Promise?
Promise.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe just like a little bit.
It's kind of cold.
Overall, Supergiant Games were able to craft a seriously good experience, and I think it just goes to show you the effect that it can have if you have depth in your gameplay. It's not like a Ubisoft game where it's just collecting items. It's not like a Call of Duty game where you're grinding away at levels. The design choices in Hades are well thought out, and it goes to show you that you don't have to be a AAA studio. Plenty of love and hard work can really go a long way. So that's about it for today. I hope that you all enjoyed the video and what I've covered today. It does happen to be a bit of a branch out from what I've done in the past, but if you do want to see more, then you already know what to do. I've been Kiv, and I will see you all on the next one.